Hey guys, so John Anderson here. I wanted to share this program with you. It's called Alchemy, and it's a great little program. It's by this company here, al.chemy.org. Um, and what it does is it allows you to kind of go in and conceptualize and focus on, just being creative and not getting too bogged down in the details. And the way it does that is it's sort of like Photoshop, but it takes away the ability to erase and undo and that kind of stuff. The idea is that you just get too bogged down in details when you really should be just looking for overall form. It's one of the reasons I love the silhouette method of concepting, is because it's just really good to get the form correct before you go for details. And you don't always need to know exactly what that form is supposed to mean, So in this drawing that I did here, I was using an ogre as a kind of a guide, but I don't know if these things beside his head, I don't know if those are ears or if they're, I don't know what they are. I'm guessing they're probably ears, but they could be something different. So it's good just to kind of explore the shape and the overall form. So I'm going to go ahead and start a new design. So just if you scroll your mouse up to the top, it'll open up this menu, and then you can just create a new design there. I'm going to try to play with the transparency a little bit. The reason I'm going to do this is I kind of want to be able to go over the same lines a few times and be able to see them, because the last drawing of that ogre you saw was just straight black. But I'm going to keep my line weight fairly high, so it's at 15 right now. That gives me kind of large shapes to play with. Actually, I might take that down to 10. And then I'll just come in here, and by default, the mirroring mode is off. I kind of like to have it on. You don't have to, but I like to have it on. It allows me to quickly see, interesting shapes, since most characters are going to be mirrored in some way anyway. So Control 3 allows you to mirror the cursor. So I'll start drawing right now, and it's really just kind of exploring. So not really focused too much on what I'm trying to draw. I'm just trying to look for interesting shapes. So this is kind of interesting in here. I'm kind of starting to see something up here. It almost looks like an Anubis character. Up there you kind of see these long canine ears that go straight up. So that's kind of looking, that's the first thing that I'm seeing. I might not go in that direction, but it's kind of interesting. And this is why I'm kind of using the transparency, the opacity, is it allows me to not just look at the external, the outside form. I can also look at the inside form as well and see if that's something that interests me. Just keep exploring. I like that head quite a bit. I think it's a pretty cool profile. It was, completely by accident. Wasn't trying to do that, but I like that. So, and this is kind of interesting here to me too. It almost, it's almost ghost-like how it comes down to this, tapers down to this point. So that's interesting. So I'll just keep on. I'll explore with these arms in here because I'm pretty set on that head already. I really do like it. So I already think that this is pretty interesting. I might play with this just a little bit. Let's see what I can do up in here. kind of like that. I'm going to give it a little bit of shadow down here. This is actually just thinking that that is kind of a shadow. I like this up in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to invert the color so that it's white, and then I'm going to kind of, you know, I said you couldn't erase, but you can actually do this. You can change the color back to white and kind of go back and refine your line work a little bit. I don't know, I kind of like that little squiggly thing there too. So it's interesting when you're conceptualizing because you can kind of find completely unintentional shapes. Like, you know, I wasn't going for this shoulder thing here, but I like that as well. It's kind of interesting. So it's really just, don't get too bogged down in what you're trying to create. Don't think, you know, I need a sword here, or I need this to be, you know, a piece of armor or anything like that. It's just really just trying to just be completely free in the way that you're drawing your character. So I definitely think this is kind of an interesting shape right here. So I'm going to turn my transparency back up, not quite all the way. Turn my line work down to about 5 for my weight. And I'll kind of come up here and, you know, play with this a little bit in here. I like that, and I actually did kind of like this in here. So I don't know. I may get rid of it later, but it looks decorative, obviously. So I just kind of want to explore that a little bit. I'm making noises while I draw. Kind of just having fun with it. I'm not trying to be too, you know, too Bob Ross about this. This happy little character here, but it's kind of fun just to play around. I'll go back. I'll set the transparency of this white down, and I'll go way back up high. And I just kind of want to knock some of the shadow back a little bit, so it doesn't really interfere with the character itself. And then just kind of, you know, so I'm kind of liking that. There's other things we can do. So I think what I might do is I might save this character out right now, but I think that there's some other stuff that I might want to play with. So I will save it out. Save it as just a, I'm going to do a PNG, so that's fine. Actually, it might be good to save it with transparency, so I'm going to go ahead and change that and change this to PNG again, and then click transparency. That way I can kind of move it around the canvas a little bit. It may not work exactly because I did paint a lot of that out with white, so you'll have that white that will come into in the PNG. So we'll see how it goes. But now I kind of want to explore a little more, and I'm thinking maybe I'll give this thing some wings and see how that plays out. So my line weight is a 10. Actually, we'll bring that down to a 5. And I'm still keeping my transparency somewhat low. And I want to just kind of explore these wings. Again, don't get too bogged down, so maybe this is a pixie type character. And I'm not going to go, you know, super detailed with my, you know, the outside line. If you've ever looked at like a Brian Froud fairy concepts, they're actually really cool. I like it, his wings aren't like solid dragonfly type wings. They're very wispy, and I think that that's kind of neat. We'll see if we can kind of explore this kind of decorative thing that we had on that Anubis helmet thing there. So I think that this kind of is very interesting. It's very kind of angelic, fairy looking. And once you find something that you like, you can turn off the control 3, you can turn off the mirroring, and you can kind of explore a little more with your without mirroring on. So if I wanted this area down here, I'm going to go ahead and erase that. Well, basically draw over it and show you what I mean. Way back up, much easier. And go back down, and then so you can see here this is still mirrored, so control 3, and now takes away that mirror, and now I can just kind of explore this character a little more without mirroring on, and see if we can get this to look a little more wispy down here, like smoke. That's kind of where I was seeing this going. And who knows, when I get this back into Photoshop, that may change again. The arms definitely look really small to me, really short, because this character now is fairly, fairly tall. So I'm not going to do too much more with it. It's kind of interesting. I'll bring this into Photoshop, and in Photoshop I'll manipulate the arms a little more to make them a little longer. I mean, I could do it right here. I could just come in and erase these. Oop. Can't undo either, so I didn't have mirroring turned on, so what I'll do is I'll hit Control 3, turn that mirroring back on, and then give this character a little larger arms, longer arms. So that's a little more. That's a little better length. I'm starting to get bogged down in those details that I said that we shouldn't be doing. So, but I'm kind of starting to get this character a little more, to a shape that I really think is interesting. So I want to just play with this down here a little more. I'm not completely satisfied with it. I really did like this taper, and I think I started to get away from that taper. So I want to kind of go back to that. Let's see if we can do something more with that. It's possible those are feet, but I'll explore that a little more in Photoshop. So I think I'm going to call this guy pretty much good. I'm going to go ahead and erase a little bit in here. And not loving those. It's kind of interesting there. Cool. All right, well, let's export this to Photoshop, and we'll try and see if we can explore them a little more. So, export, we'll do concept 2. PNG. Save, transparency on. Okay, and now I'll bring up, these are some concepts that I was playing with. These are done in Photoshop, so they're more at 3/4 angles. They're not great. I wasn't loving them. A couple of them are okay, but nothing amazing. So let's open those concepts up. That was in my E drive. It was Alchemy. Concepts. So I probably have to close Alchemy. So I will do that. Alright, now I should be able to bring it in. Alright, so it is transparent, but you can see where the white, because I used white to kind of erase the background, so that was, so I'm seeing a lot of that white. So I'm just going to fill the background with white. And that's fine, not a big deal. Now I have my character. Looks okay. I don't like the shape, but we kind of have to play a little more and explore that character a little more. So I think some of the things that we can do is I want to kind of give him a little bit of volume. So in order to do that, I'll just select a white color, and then I will select a fairly large brush. I'll go even higher than that. Take my opacity down to like 13, and I'll just kind of come in here and add some light, so I get a little more volume, almost in kind of a 3D look to them, and just keep exploring. I kind of like this. See, a lot of what I do is by accident, but it almost looks to me like it has almost like a glove on where the thumb is kind of sticking out. So it's kind of interesting. I don't know if I'll continue with that, but you just look for little things and you kind of run with it. Almost little demonic looking eyes for now. We'll see how that goes. And then I think for the continue that and just explore that a little bit. So at this point I kind of just want to start being more loose, and just kind of, again, this is kind of the same conceptualizing technique that we're using for the silhouette, but now we want to use it for the highlights. So I've kind of gotten some of those highlights in for volume, but now I just kind of want to play and just be fairly conceptual, and not get too bogged down in what each of these pieces are. I'm not loving this thing in here. It's kind of more interesting to me. Almost looked like a little too much of a clown face in there. So I wouldn't say this is the the best concept, but I'm still kind of working at it. I'm gonna erase this down here, play with that kind of wispy feel. What I'll do is I will collapse those layers into one. And I'm going to play with the liquefy filter just a little bit. Liquefy is pretty good. It's not always the best thing to use because it messes with your makes your line work a little blurry. But for this, we're just kind of playing and seeing. Seeing where we can take this thing. So we'll hit OK. Kind of interesting. So at this point, what I would do is I would set this, I'll give it a white background behind this layer, and then I'll set this layer down at a low transparency. And now this gives me an opportunity to go in and actually kind of explore the line work and see if I can create something that's a little more interesting, a little more defined. So I'm going to turn the black on, and I'll bring this opacity to around 70-75% or so, and I'll just kind of explore this up here. See what we can come up with. And I'm only going to work on one half because it's going to be easy to just mirror it over to the other side. And I'm not working too hard on following exactly what I had in there in the silhouette. What I'm doing is I'm kind of just seeing what jumps out at me and trying to kind of refine that a little bit. This looks very skull-like to me in here. So I'm going to kind of play with that a little bit there. And I think that this thing behind is much more headdress-like, so I'm kind of just going to play that up a little bit too. So I've got this head here, and a little chin there, kind of a skinny neck, and I'm going to give this in here a shoulder pad or shoulder guard, whatever you want to call it, and then in here, and this arm down, and just kind of play, see what we can come up with. I definitely think this thing is very wraith looking, so I'm going to kind of play that up too, right in there. So you kind of see some ribs in there. And then I'm going to play with this arm down here a little more. Still kind of sticking with that skeletal feel. And I thought this was pretty cool that it looked like a glove, but I'm probably not going to continue that along those lines just because I don't think it's really going to work with this wraith looking character. And I'll give it some fingers behind just to kind of add a little more believability to the design itself. It's looking kind of interesting. So I'm getting down to this area where I liquefied it, so I'm not going to mess with that too much. I'm going to kind of pull back and kind of explore these wings a little more. I don't think I'm going to take it as wispy all the way around there as I did before. you know, and I'm not following exactly what I had in the silhouette, but I'm kind of trying to, you know, take some ideas from the silhouette and bring them into the character, and kind of keep it all really, I don't know, consistent. You know, the wings were much more pixie fairy-like, and this thing is much more demonic and wraith-like. So I'm trying to kind of play with these wings so that it fits more that wraith type feel. Kind of interesting. Give him a little nipple right there, and then kind of define that midpoint a little bit. So at this point, what I would do is I'll duplicate this layer. Let me bring this menu over so you can see it. So I'll duplicate this layer, and then I'm going to hit Control T, and I'm going to flip it horizontally. Hit enter, and then I'm just going to shift it over. So it's mirrored. And it's kind of an interesting looking creature. It's definitely something I wasn't going for this in the beginning. So it's completely by accident that I came up with this thing, and I think he's got some possibility to him. But I think the one thing I want you to take away from this is that if you go in trying to create a specific character from your head, frequently you're going to have a very, very tough time achieving exactly what you're looking for. And the more important thing is it's not going to feel as freeform as if you just go in with, you know, keep your mind almost completely blank and let your hand kind of explore, let your pen kind of explore and see, you know, what you can find in that exploration. So so he looks kind of interesting. I would definitely go in and work this guy up a lot more, but I do kind of want to play with this a little bit. Mainly because eyes are where people focus first, in the face. So I kind of want to make sure that that's a little more, it stands out a little more. And I'm kind of going for a cartoony look to this thing here. Definitely a weird creature. So there's my character concept, and I would just continue exploring. I don't think that this is the final thing that I would choose. It's definitely one possibility, but the point is to just keep on doing this and create and create and create. Do 20, 30 different sketches, and see which one really kind of jumps out at you as being very unique and very interesting, and it'll help you come up with a much stronger design if you just keep on being iterative and trying again and again and again. So I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording. I'll save this out, and maybe I'll revisit this guy later. So thanks a lot. Hope you guys do enjoy doing your concepts.